Recently, I played Mark, and I learned a lot during that match. So in this video, I want to deconstruct why I lost, tell you what I've learned, and how I'm going to navigate moving forwards, how I'm going to adjust my training, what I'm going to focus on. If you've been following along and you've seen the training I've done with Eric, the training I've done on my own on the court, then you know I've been working hard on different parts of my game. And Mark did a fantastic job of exposing lots of things that I still need to work on, but I also came away from this match with a lot of positives. So I want to share those with you too, to let you know what I've been learning about myself and my game, so on and so forth. First of all, hats off to Mark. Mark played really well. He's also really entertaining. A lot of you said you really enjoyed watching our match together. If you want to see a rematch with us later, just click the like button. Let me know that you'd like to see us match up again. I definitely would love to square off against him again in the future. Let me know in the comments, and also click the like button if you'd like to see us play each other again. First of all, a little bit of analysis. When Mark walked off the court that day, and I was like laying on the court because of my ankle, I had actually just broken him. Many of you probably don't realize it, but the shot where I twisted my ankle and went down, his shot went out, and that was break point. And so it was 2-5, and obviously I defaulted at that point. But many of you, even though the scoreboard was lopsided, 1-6, 2-5, kind of made the comment that it was closer than what the score seemed. And Mark actually said that before he left. I thought he was just being a nice guy because I just totally wrecked my my ankle. And so I thought he was just kind of, it's a nice thing to say, oh, it was a lot closer than what the score seemed, the kind of thing that people say kind of to be nice. But when many of you in the comments made that same observation, I was like, well, maybe I should go back and check it out. So here in the first set, really quickly, I ran through it. A 1-6 set. There were 52 total points. Mark won 32 of them, and I won 20. So a little bit of quick math. You realize that 6-point swing, if I won 6 more points and Mark lost 6 more points, we would have been dead 50-50 on the set. That doesn't necessarily mean I win the set or even that we go to a tiebreaker. Tennis is kind of funny that way. You actually can win more points than you lose and still lose a tennis match. Kind of interesting. But in hindsight, I'm proud that I hung in there and took a lot of games to deuce, even if I didn't necessarily win them. And so I think there's a lot of things that I did well. So let's talk about that. Positive number one, my fitness has definitely come a long ways. It's not where it needs to be. I still have a lot of work to do, but from where I started with Ira, I was really kind of deer in the headlights the whole 2 sets. He really just kind of steamrolled me physically, and I didn't even have like the wherewithal to change my tactics and do something different. I was just like, holy crap, like the whole match. So I feel good about the training I've done with Eric. He's pushed me really hard. He's really pushed me to my capacity every time we've been on the court. So shout out to Eric. You've done an incredible job getting me ready for competition. And so I feel like I did a much better job with that against Mark. Not where I need to be, but definitely better. Positive takeaway number 2 for me is just overall baseline confidence. While Mark was a big hitter and a strong hitter, many of you commented on how he definitely doesn't seem like a 4-5 player. He hits big shots, his serve and his forehand and his backhand. He actually a lot of times prefers his backhand, able to hit big shots. And I feel pretty good about how I kind of stayed in there. Of course, he still dictated a lot of points. I backed off to give myself time frequently. But there were also times where I stood my ground, and you saw my reaction after game 1. I kind of walked up to the camera and was like, okay, like I can do this. During the warm-up, I was like, oh, crap, like he's way stronger than I am. But after the first game, I was actually kind of saying to myself, all right, like I can hit with this kind of player. It was a little bit of affirmation, to myself. It's been such a long time since I've stood in next to the baseline and received that type of shot without like backing way off. And while I still have I have a ways to go with this, but I feel much better about how I did, again, compared to Ira, where he just totally like pushed me against the curtain the whole time. Number 3, I did a way better job of just putting returns in play. We're going to talk more about my return a little bit later, but against Ira, I just couldn't even find the ball. Like I was just mishitting, just trying to block it back. I just couldn't even find it. And Mark hit bigger serves than Ira did, and I'm pretty sure. and yet I was able to put most returns back in play. It wasn't like Ira where it was like misreturn, 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 and then like Ira hit a forehand winner and it was like the game was over. I played a lot more points against Mark as opposed to just missing the return. So I'm happy about that. At least I got it in play. At least I got some points rolling. So I think that's a big positive. And the fourth positive here is while I don't want to have to rely on the net game and like the chip and charge and the serve and volley, it's nice to know that it's a viable plan B. I stuck it out from the baseline. I tried to find my footing. I tried to find the right tempo and the right intensity level against Mark. At the end of the day, Mark was too strong. He overpowered me. He was by far the better player on that day. But it was nice to know that in my back pocket, I could just kind of go to all-out like net rush mode. And I feel like it did its job. Like he started making a lot of unforced errors. It rattled him a little bit. It's not like it totally flipped the match, but we ended with me breaking his serve. If I hadn't messed up my ankle, I'd love to know. I just would have continued serving and volleying. If I could have held that game, it would have been 3-5. And now he's got something to think about in that second set. Excuse me. So it's not my preferred way of winning. I want to continue developing my baseline game, my fitness, my intensity, all those sorts of things, my timing, taking the ball higher, my backhand drive. But in my back pocket, I'll always have that net rusher kind of plan B. And so to me, that's a positive that I can still rely on that, even though the rest of my game has to develop quite a bit. Hey, quick reminder here in October, we're doing our subscriber challenge. Our goal is to get to 250,000 subscribers by the end of the month. And if we do, we're going to open up our course library and give free access to any of our programs up to a $400 value. We did this back in August and gave away almost $500,000 in free logins for one of our best online training programs. So tap that subscribe button, share with your friends, your teammates, help us get to 250, and would love to give away another free program at the end of October. Now let's talk about what I could have done better, what I'm taking away as a lesson from this match against Mark, and really feeling like he definitely exposed things in my game. And by the way, amazing comments. Love reading all your comments, even the negative or like the critical ones, because that's kind of the whole point here, right? Is to play people that do expose my weaknesses so that I know what to work on, so that I know where I need to get better, where I need to do better physically or technically, etc. It's the whole point of competition. It's not to win every time. I mean, yeah, that would feel nice, but you're not going to become a better player that way. So, improvement area number one. This, I think, is the biggest, and many of you left great comments about this. I saw several people who basically said, Ian, I know you're working on your backhand, but it's really your forehand that lost you this match. And I totally agree with that. Because I was standing in and receiving the ball a little bit more confidently, because my fitness was better and I wasn't just like totally overwhelmed, I had a lot of looks. I had a lot of looks on the forehand side that I just sprayed all over the place. And you heard me in the match a lot of times talking about this intensity, like tightrope walk, where it's like if my intensity went too high, my arm tends to like stiffen up and tighten up, and I just kind of like spray it and drive it way too flat. I lose the curve. But if I drop my intensity too far and I get kind of like overly relaxed, I don't attack the ball with my feet, I slow down too much, and I just kind of like float it. And it's no longer an effective shot against somebody like Mark or like somebody against Ira. So I have to keep developing the forehand. And Coach Eric has done a great job of that. He's really highlighted the forehand a lot. And I'm going to be working a lot with the ball machine very soon. I'm just getting more quality reps there because the good news is against Mark, I had my looks. The bad news is I just kind of blew it. And you know, it's nice that it was on my racket much more than against Ira. That's a positive, but there's still a lot more work to be done on the forehand before it's going to be the reliable weapon that it needs to be. So to me, this is like at the top of the list, improvement area number one. Number two, and this kind of goes pretty closely hand in hand, is contact height, but it's not exactly the same thing. Watching myself play, I'm disappointed in how much I let the ball drop. And this, again, is kind of part of the confidence as well, like standing in there, not being intimidated by the speed, not always backing up. Part of it is the forehand looseness and like curving it instead of hitting it flat. But another part of it is footwork and reading. There were many times against Mark where he kind of hung a ball, or it was like kind of low and short, and I just like stood there and just like let it come to me. And by the time I hit it, it was a low ball, and I could have hit it much higher. This gave him, this wasted a lot of opportunities that I had and gave Mark a lot of extra time and a lot of court real estate and took away my ability to be aggressive where I really wanted to be. So this is something I'm going to continue to work on. Again, Eric, excellent coach. He's really picked up on this, and he's been talking to me a lot about hitting the ball at the top of the bounce on the backhand side and the forehand side. For the immediate future, it's probably even more important on the forehand side so that it can become more of the weapon that I need to beat somebody like Mark. But I'm going to keep developing it on my backhand side too as I keep working on that as like a long-term project. So to me, that was big area number 2 that got exposed by Mark. Area number 3 was, it's good, again, kind of like a double-edged sword. Great, like I put a lot more returns back in play and I neutralized more returns, but I'm not going to break somebody like Mark before I start hitting more of a drive, return to serve. And again, something that Coach Eric has been working with me on, but I just have a long ways to go. I cannot dictate on return to serve until I start to actually hit the ball and strike the ball. The block return is great to fall back on, but I used it exclusively the whole match against Mark. And so I have to make the jump. I have to make the transition to just anticipating and preparing to hit a topspin return, even on a first serve. I hit some second serve returns as topspin, but I need to start hitting confidently and just, even if it's just like a block on the backhand side and just meeting it square and flush and just driving it back. Coach Eric has been doing a lot of that type of work with me when he's here working with me, and I have to keep developing it. Sooner or later, I need to kind of jump into the deep end and just commit to the drive and match play, and this is why I need to keep playing more matches. It's really hard to replicate that in training. You can, but in match play, it's a different kind of thing. You probably know what I'm talking about. Leave me a comment down below if you know what I'm talking about. The return to serve confidence and ability to hit it solidly in a match versus practice, it's kind of a different beast. And then finally, improvement area number 4 that I think Mark exploited really well is I don't have the ability to be intense and explosive and control what's happening. Mark's fitness was a lot better than mine. He was much physically stronger than me. He was able to dictate points similar to Ira, but in a little bit different way. Mark, I think, was kind of more raw, like acceleration and power. Ira overpowered me, but I think it was more with like his positioning and like staying on top of me, getting right on top of me immediately in the points. Against Mark, I had more looks. Like I had more open opportunities than against Ira. So those are the main areas where I feel like I've learned, I need to improve. It's work in progress, as always. And finally, I just want to say thank you to all of you that have been watching. The feedback on the match versus Mark was just incredibly positive. It's very obvious that you all want to see more of that type of content. If that's the case, and if you'd like to see a rematch against Mark, click the like button. It helps the video a lot, which I appreciate tremendously. And let me know, did I miss anything here? Were there any positives or negatives, lessons that you think I should have listed here that I didn't? Let me know in the comments down below. I always read all the comments. I don't always have time to reply to every single one, but I read all of them. And I want you to know I appreciate all of your support tremendously. I'm going to keep working hard. Even with how frustrating this ankle issue is, I'm doing the best I can to come back as fast as I can so that we can keep this stuff rolling. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. I'll see you in the next video.